What has gotten into Keldon Johnson this season? And let's take a look at tonight's game, Spurs-Warriors.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs right here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Glad to have you back. Happy Monday, everybody. Hope everybody's having a good start to their work week. This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. Hey, your Spurs are back in action tonight. They're going to be taking on the Warriors out on the road. So sort of a little bit of a road trip for the young Bucks, but they've been playing well. Hopefully, they'll get another W for those that are not on Team Tank. But for those that are on Team Tank, like our guest, I'm pretty sure he's going to be chanting for L's as the road trip begins. Also, we're going to look, but first we're going to look at Keldon Johnson. What has gotten into him? If you look at his numbers in the last, since pretty much the start of the season, just monster numbers. He has not scored below double digits this entire season. What's gotten into him? What does the eye test tell us? What do the numbers tell us? And much, much more. And that guy that was giggling right now, because he is practically captain of Team Tank. He is James Pledger with San Antonio Sports Star. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at @IamPledger. And he'll tell you all about his show, the Saturday Morning Hangover, and much, much more. James, you're pretty much one of the many captains of Team Tank. How are y'all doing this start of the season?
I mean, I'm fine. Like, I would like them to lose to get a Victor Wembanyama, of course, because he would obviously make this team an instant title contender, especially with what we're seeing out of the development of it. Now, what I've always wanted to see from day one, from the bubble, from the minute they got rid of Kawhi Leonard, was for them to start the rebuild process.
Right.
So that we could see these young guys run and gun. We're seeing that this year. I can't be mad about that, wins or losses. And this is what I've always wanted, is to see them grow and have the opportunity to grow without fear of being benched for some missed assignment defensively, you know? And Keldon looks great. Devin looks great. We're seeing growth out of Trey Jones, like a huge jump that I did not foresee coming. And it's been very, very enjoyable to watch. And they've got solid veterans, which is why they're being mentioned as trade pieces like Jakob Poeltl, Doug McDermott, and Josh Richardson.
Absolutely. Yeah. And look, the Spurs are definitely fighters. They're a scrappy team. They do not want to go down without a fight. And they've proven that time and time again this early season. Now, granted, it is still a season that's still very young. We'll see how things shake out as the season goes on. We're not even, a month done yet? Still within a month. So, yeah, season is still young. But one guy that's really been playing out of his mind, and in a good way, and that's Keldon Johnson. Many looked at him as the guy to take another step. Has he really taken that another step? What do the numbers tell us? What does the eye test tell us? We're going to do the eye test first, because Pledger was making fun of me before we hit record, saying that you need stats, Jeff. Well, look at my stats. I can rattle them off here on top of my head. So he's going to wow us with his numbers in a bit. But he says he's not the head of the snake. He's made that very clear. He says, no, I'm not the head of the snake. All of us are the heads of the snake. But, if Keldon's not out there.
But he's the head of the snake.
He's the head of the snake. But if he's not out there, this team is probably struggling against to get some W's, or at least they put up a fight. What have you just seen out of Keldon in his start to the new season?
Confidence. This is a guy that knows that he is the guy. He was rewarded with that contract. There is no longer a DeMar DeRozan or a LaMarcus Aldridge or a expensive veteran standing in his way, or even a DeJounte Murray who was seeming to be the next. He knows this is his team. He is the most tenured. He is the best. And he has been given that opportunity, and he has seized it and run with it, and it is phenomenal to see what he's done with it. He is taking a massive step forward, and all we've seen is him take a step forward in every single year of his development, from the bubble to his second year to his third year to this year. I mean, he has taken a huge step each and every year working on something. Last year it was 3-point shooting. He became a much more proficient 3-point shooter last year, and that's only carried over into this year to where he's shooting nearly 43% from behind the arc. I mean, he has taken a step up in scoring from, I think he was around 17 points per game last year to almost 24 points a game this year. So that is a huge step forward in scoring from one year to the next. So this is his team. There is no doubt about it. And he is the motor. He's the driving force behind this team. It goes as he goes. Can he have an off night and they survive? Sure. But he is needed to lead this team in some way, shape, or form. We've seen him have an off night where he scored, I think it was like 12, 14 points or something like that. Devin Vassell picked up the slack for him that night, but Keldon was doing all of the little things in that game. He was still grinding. He was still jumping, getting rebounds, diving on the ball for loose, diving on the floor for loose balls. He was doing everything he needed, even though his offense wasn't quite there.
I got a kick out of that post-game chat he had when somebody asked him about, are you the leader? How are you taking that mantle? And we're joked about it right now, saying, I'm not the head of the snake. There are no head of the snake, but he is the head of the snake. Like you said, he is. And that's what I like. That's what the eye test tells me, is that leadership that he's now starting to show in that same conference, James. Even though he's downplaying that he's not the leader, It's a leader by community kind of idea. But then what does he follow it up by saying? But before the game, I went up to everybody and said, like, we need you. You do good this. If you mess up, it's okay. We're here for you. Da 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 da. He takes the initiative and does all that. So
and here's the thing, Jeff. When he says, I'm not the head of the snake, and the more I watch this team, the more I think about 2016. Or I'm sorry, not 2016, 2014.
What are you talking about? 2014? The
title year?
The title year, yep.
So I'm reminded more of 13 and 14 the more I watch this team. So when he says, I'm not the head of the snake, I kind of get what he's saying, because they move the ball extremely well. The ball moves around the court very, very freely, and it's reminiscent of the beautiful game. I don't want to call it the beautiful game because it's not, but it is.
Popovich could say Sohan is Rodman light, so can we say this team is beautiful game light?
Sure, yeah, we can go beautiful game light, but there is great ball movement on this team, and they will go good to great, better to best.
Yeah, they definitely will. We're talking about Keldon Johnson right here on Locked On Spurs. Why he's having such a great start to the season. What does the eye tell us that we just talked about? We're going to get into some numbers next with James Pledger with San Antonio Sports Star. But before we do that, hey, thanks for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts. This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn Talent Solutions. Look, these days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. You can post your job right now. They got a purple hashtag hiring frame to any LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you are hiring. Simple tools, screening questions, makes life easier for you to focus on the candidates with just the right skills and experience, so you can quickly prioritize who you like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs number one in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. Go to LinkedIn Jobs right now. It'll help you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free. LinkedIn.com/LockedOnNBA. That's LinkedIn.com/LockedOnNBA. Post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. We're back with James Pledger right here on Locked On Spurs. He is with San Antonio Sports Star, co-host of the Saturday Morning Hangover. He'll tell you all about the Star in just a few minutes. So we kind of saw the eye test. We see the leadership growth, James. You mentioned the confidence is there. that, for all intents and purposes, he is the head of the snake, even though he wants to downplay it. So there's a lot what you're seeing, but what are the numbers jump at it? And I think the biggest number why he's having such a big production is his usage rate just skyrocketed. Just skyrocketed. That's the first one. He's hitting a lot more touches. You look at the 21-22 season, his usage rate was around 19.5% with the team, skyrocketed now to 26.5. Cleaning the Glass has him ranked in the 91st percentile at his position in usage. So he's a heavy usage guy at his position. That lends to a lot of why he's putting up these monster numbers.
Yeah, I mean, just look at some of the other things that he's done. His minutes per game have gone up about 3-4 minutes. He is scoring, and I was right on the number. He was at 17 points a game exactly last season. He is up to 23.6, almost 24 points a game. That is nearly 7 points a game difference from last year to this year. So that is a massive jump. His field goal percentage is right about the same at 46%, but you know how I was saying he jumped up to 40% last year at three-point shooting. He's shooting nearly 43% this year from three. So he's gotten even better there. And, his assists have gone up over 1.5 per game. So he's making better decisions with the ball. He is sharing it, and it is paying off because it has worked out in his favor, because he knows if he gives the ball, he's going to get it back, or they're going to get an easy shot, and he's going to get credit for his assist right now. So he is playing with so much confidence, but B, it looks like the game has slowed down to him.
Absolutely, yeah.
It looks like he's seeing it differently than he has in the past couple of years, where he was either thinking or just wondering where the ball needed to go, how to get it to whoever it needed to be, whether it was DeMar or LaMarcus and their spots on the court. He doesn't have to worry about any of that anymore, and he's not playing off of like any kind of thought process, it's free flowing for him now, and you can tell that he is very much more just letting the game come to him than vice versa.
Yeah, and you look at like his shot attempts across the board, whether that be at the rim or the three shot. That's it. It's starting to even out a little bit. He's taking about 24% of his shots at the rim, but look at this: all three shots, they're up to 48%. So when everybody was saying like he's just a bull, he's going to the rim, he's just trying to plow through. He's trying to diversify it up. So you see that in the numbers already.
He's just playing big body ball.
Yeah, exactly. He still goes to that, and it's very effective because they call him big body for a reason. But he's making an attempt to at least spread out the wealth on the offensive end. You're looking at the three shot, as I mentioned, last year, 21-22 season, 37% of his offensive shots came from just anywhere from the three line. Now he's up to 48%. So he's really, really trying to spread out that defense, which helps him allow him to attack that rim and do what he does best, get those and ones. Some more of the numbers. He's playing a clean game. You rarely see him foul out. For a guy who just plows his way to the rim for the most part, and tries to create a shot, keeps fouls low, and I like that. He's ranked in the 87th percentile at his position, which is really high. 2% fouls, so he doesn't really get into foul trouble. And I think that helps this Spurs team stay competitive, James.
Speaking of which, I don't know if you saw it or not. Ben Simmons fouling out against Ja Morant.
Yeah.
And how he managed to make him do that. Just rolling the ball down the floor and just walking while the ball's rolling and picking it up past half court and making him come out to defend him.
They're like, come on. They're like, let's see what you got. Yeah.
It just shows how much of a mental thing this is with Ben Simmons, by the way, because he has been in so much foul trouble after being such a great defender early in his career. Like he is mentally just it feels like he's broken mentally right now. But on the other side of that, Keldon Johnson knows exactly what to do, especially defensively. He is staying away from contact. He is positioning his body correctly. He is getting into the right positions on the floor to A, contest shots, B, not pick up fouls, or be in bad positions that would lead him to picking up tacky fouls. So it is an incredible job, just basketball IQ wise, for what Keldon Johnson has done from last season to this season. It just feels like such a massive mental leap forward for him.
Yeah, and then you look at other little numbers, like little numbers that just add up in total. We talked about foul percentages. That is low. It's actually lower than it was last year. Last year, he was averaging about, his foul percentage was about 2.3%. And that was in the 85th percentile at his position, according to Clean the Glass. This year it's gone up. He's fouling less. It's 2.0%. Bumped him up to 87th percentile. But even little things like defensive free throw, like defensive rebounding on the free throws, basically just when the opposing team misses a free throw and somebody gets the rebound from the opposite team, in this case Keldon, he's skyrocketed. He's 33.3% free throw defensive rebounding. 96th percentile, according to Clean the Glass, that he gets those, secures those rebounds for the Spurs to get them going. Because when a player on the opposite team misses a free throw, he can get the ball and get that offense going. Doug McDermott, Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell, Jakob Poeltl, they all say that this is a free-flowing offense. And they said it without saying it. They're kind of close to playing street ball. It almost feels that way sometimes. Sure, Popovich calls the plays, but there's been times in post-practice sessions where McDermott would say, hey, sometimes we go out there and we just got to go. We got to go. We'll make decisions as we make it. And that's lending to the youth talent on this roster, James.
Well, also what that does is it allows the younger guys to play with more confidence because they're not in fear of making a mistake constantly on the floor when you allow them to make mistakes. And then you coach them past those mistakes. And at the same time, just the ability to play free allows for a lot of fast-paced opportunities, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like you can get out on the break. You see it. They're rip and running, as I like to call it, where, they rip the ball off the rim. They start pushing the pace down the court. They're playing at such an incredibly high pace of play right now. And it's fun to watch. That's one of the greatest things about this team. I don't know if you paid enough attention or your listeners have this season, but they're playing an extremely win or lose, watchable brand of basketball.
Right.
To where it's just fun. You want to watch them play. You want to see them grow and develop because they're playing so quickly.
And they need to do that. Considering the makeup of their team, they're very, very young. They have teenagers on the roster. That lends to their abilities. You're seeing it help Keldon, obviously. Yeah, it's helping Keldon. It's helping Sohan. It's helping John. It's Vassell. I mean, the list goes on and on. They like this, and you look at, just Keldon himself, just his numbers. I mean, they're just monster number. 29 points versus Milwaukee in the win. He already has a pair of 30-point games or 30 or more. He had 30 against Denver, then 33 against Chicago. Again, has not scored less than double figures this entire season. His minimum output this year on the offensive end has just been 16 points twice versus Memphis and the Clippers. Everything else has just been awesome. And look at other numbers too. Since this is the number segment of the Keldon Johnson focus here.
We're getting real geeky with this.
Yeah, we're getting real geeky now. I mean, sure, it's a small sample size still. In my opinion, I still think you don't start doing advanced numbers till maybe after a month and a half. But the little numbers show us right now, whenever he has 5 or more assists, the Spurs are 2-0. They're 6-2 whenever he gets to done defensive end with 1 or more steals. Yeah, he's just a force for this team. And it's going to be interesting what happens come All-Star voting time. If he keeps this pace up, will he force Obviously not the fans. We know it's a popularity contest, but
yeah,
the coaches.
He's making a case to be an all-star. I know. Yeah. I was very anti. Like, is DeJounte an all-star last year?
Mm-hmm.
Because I would list all the people in front of him, and luckily there were a lot of injuries last year, and that allowed him to become an all-star. But I will say this about Keldon Johnson. I don't think he needs to be an all-star replacement right now. I think he should be an all-star.
I'm right there with you. I think what's going to happen though, and might bite him in the butt at the end, is and it shouldn't be a factor, but he's a Spur and the team record.
That's what's going to bite him in the butt.
Yeah, the team record and where they stand in the West. I think in the NBA. I think that's what's going to get them in the end. Hey, we're not done talking. Yeah, the market size. Yeah, we're not done talking. When we get back, we're going to shift gears now and look at tonight's game, Spurs-Warriors. Some keys to victory. Can the Spurs get it done out in San Francisco now? That's right. They're in San Francisco. So, yeah, all that and more with James Pledger of San Antonio Sports Star. Hey, again, thanks for making Locked On Spurs your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On Sports, from the games that matter to the biggest sports stories in sports. Yep, insights that only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports Today, available on this app, YouTube, and wherever you get podcasts. This episode is brought to you by BetOnline.net. It's your number one source for sports betting information, news, stats, and analysis. Get all the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there. From football to basketball, soccer, esports, they got it all at betonline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, you can find those on BetOnline as well. Always fast. The easiest way to get your betting fix is betonline.net. Head to the website today. You got yourself a mobile device, a laptop. Go learn more what they got over at BetOnline. It's where the game starts. We're back with James Pledger of San Antonio Sports Star. Follow him on Twitter at @IamPledger. And we're about to dive into tonight's game, Spurs-Warriors. So hopefully there's a healthy dose of Keldon tonight, but the Spurs are back on the road. Quick injury update before we dive into this, because I got a lot of flack for the game preview for Milwaukee, because I didn't talk about how Milwaukee was missing all these players because they hadn't put out the report yet when I recorded it. So here we are, everybody.
Because you didn't let them know that they weren't playing with Giannis or Drew or Pat Connaughton or Joe Ingles or Grayson Allen.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I got flagged for. So here we go, everybody. Barlow is out on G League assignment. Zach Collins, y'all know he's busted up, the leg injury. He's not playing. Beck Wesley's not playing. MCL sprain. Romeo Langford is out. Health safety protocols. So somebody got placed in that. And then this is the most interesting one. Malachi Branham, who has been on assignment with the Austin Spurs, is out, left ankle sprain. So he must have tweaked himself either in practice or during the game. But there is your Spurs IR report. Now, James, the Spurs, I expect them to put up another fight tonight. They come into Golden State 6-7. The Warriors are 5-7. Interesting there. But this is a very
early. They've been on cruise control.
Yeah. This might be a shot for the Spurs to get a win on the road against Golden State when they're, like you mentioned, they're just on cruise control right now, James.
Yeah, it feels like they're really, really just kind of plodding through the early part of the season to possibly turn it on late, as they are still kind of enjoying their championship success from last year. Mm-hmm. This doesn't feel like the team that won a championship and tried to go for the, best record in the NBA the following year. Mm-hmm. This doesn't feel like that kind of thing. It feels like they're trying to conserve themselves and turn it on later in the season. So this might very well be a chance for the Spurs to kind of steal one against a team that's kind of sleepwalking early in the season.
They are. This is definitely a winnable game. And I think the Spurs can do that. If they can take Memphis to overtime and you have to have Bane and the Ja Morant just get heroic on them in 1 minute left in overtime.
Would they have 32 apiece?
Yeah. It took that type of effort from Ja and Bane to get the job done versus San Antonio. I hope the Spurs do that as well. Now, there's some good news. The Spurs have won 2 straight games against the Warriors in their gym. So that dates back to last season. That's good to know.
What?
Yeah, they've won 2 straight games in San Francisco.
Wow.
Exactly. This Spurs team surprises me every time I look at some of these numbers. And if you're also kind of those stat geeks, keep an eye on the third period score. Brace yourself, James. The Spurs are undefeated on the road when they're leading after the third period of 3-0. So they're closing out lead. They're closing out games when they're ahead, heading to the final frame. But now the bad news is that the Warriors, although their record is kind of below 500, and as James you mentioned, they're in cruise control. They have won 4 straight in their gym. So we'll see how that shakes out. You mentioned him, and I think he deserves a little bit of shine right now. Tre Jones. Wow. We talked about the Vassell leap, the Keldon Johnson leap heading into this season. Nobody was talking about the Tre Jones leap.
I mean, I believe you and I mentioned it, but mine was more kind of in jest when you were asked me over the summer, like, what do the Spurs have to do to not be on Team Tank this coming year and actually push for the playoffs? And I said, well, Keldon's got to make a leap. Devin's got to make a leap. Jock's got to make a leap. Tre Jones has to make a leap. Josh Primo has to make a leap. Trey Langford has to make, like, literally everybody on the roster has to make a leap forward, is what I think I said. And you can argue it kind of happened.
Yeah, it happened.
Like, they've all taken a step forward this year.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just the way Tre Jones has just been playing. I mean, it's.
And you remember when I told you this season or this off season, like, how would you know if the Spurs are on Team Tank or if they're trying to actually win games? I said, who's their starting point guard? Tre Jones is the better point guard. If he starts, they're trying to win games. Josh Primo is the development of the point guard. If he starts, they're trying to develop for the future.
Yeah, he's been playing great. Just look at just the assist category. In the last 3 games, 9 assists versus Milwaukee, 11 assists versus Memphis, 9 assists versus Denver. He's spreading that ball around, helping that beautiful game light do its thing.
He's a classic point guard.
Yeah, he is. He had a 20-point outing versus Denver. Yeah, I mean, he's just playing really good. Now, he's addressed it. He's working on it. And even in game, he's working on it. And that's the 3 shot. That's going to be his next level to hit. If he starts knocking down threes, he's definitely going to be a very, very deadly weapon for the Spurs on both ends of the court because he's among league leaders in loose ball recovery. So he's hustling. He's getting those steals. He's even getting, keeping those turnovers low. The last 3 games, I think 3 turnovers in a full game against Denver. That was it. He had 2 against Memphis. And that went to overtime. Still didn't overturn the ball over. And then just 1 against Milwaukee. He's going to be a fun guy to watch to see his development as it goes on. I'm going to see Draymond and Sohan go at it. A lot of people looked at Sohan as kind of like Draymond light when he got drafted.
He is.
I love to see that.
He is.
Go ahead, James. Talk about Sohan.
Dude, Jeremy Sohan, and I've told you about you. Jack's told you about him leading into the draft. There as a guy that we kind of thought would be a great Spur. He's a developmental guy, but he's going to give you everything when he's on the floor. He defends. He can defend multiple positions. He's going to do all the dirty stuff, and you hope that his offense comes around. Which, even if it doesn't, there's nothing wrong with where he's at right now. I mean, Draymond Green is a linchpin to a championship type of team. You look at all championship teams, they have a guy like Draymond Green, whether it's Bobby Portis up in Milwaukee, whether it's PJ Tucker out in wherever he's been. Like, they are linchpin kind of guys for, they just do the dirty work. They do all of the dirty work, and they'll hit a big shot here and there. Boris Diaw was that for the Spurs.
And he pinches nipples, apparently.
Which is fine. I don't like it. I said, people hate Draymond Green unless he's on your team. Jeremy Sohan's going to be that guy. Spurs fans are going to love Jeremy Sohan.
Yeah.
Other fan bases are going to absolutely hate him.
Yeah, exactly. His learning curve is shortening each and every day in each and every game. I was expecting kind of a long season type of learning curve, but it may come off the peak and start evening out soon. The way he's playing, he's taking a little more threes. Defensively, he's being more of a pest. Yeah, ask Steven Adams, OKC's big man. Yeah, and facilitating, and it's so weird. You and I are old enough to remember seeing Rodman play at the Alamo Dome in person.
Yeah.
Tell me,
as much as it was a disaster, I loved watching it.
Tell me, there's sometimes when you're watching it, you're like, my God, it looks like Rodman reincarnated.
It looks like it. From the painted hair to the jersey number, all of it. He gives off a Rodman vibe.
Even to his running gait. When he runs the gate, I'm like, what the? It's bizarre. Even the way he dunks is very Rodman-like. It's eerie. It's eerie. So, but yeah, your Spurs and Warriors are going to get things going on. It's a late start, everybody. It's a late start, so get ready for it. Heads up now, but it should be a fun game. Yeah, get your naps in. I'm trying to get one in right now. Once again, Spurs 6-7, Warriors 5-7. This will be the Spurs and Warriors' first meeting of the season. So what do you have to say to everybody else? What do you think about tonight's matchup, Spurs-Warriors? How do you see this going down? And what do you think about Keldon Johnson's great start to the season? You can let me know on Twitter at JeffGSpursZone. You can let James know on Twitter at IamPledger. If Twitter's still around, James, who knows? If it's still around the way it seems to be.
It all depends what Elon Musk is going to do with it, right?
Yeah, I know, right? But for the moment, it's still there. But hey, tell us. Something that's not going away, and that's the Star. What's going on at the Star?
Oh, man, the Star's got everything going on. Obviously, there's my show, the Saturday Morning Hangover, where we talk about everything from football, basketball, Spurs, Cowboys, you name it. We've got it. Even San Antonio FC, who's playing in a championship game. Like, we've got it all.
Yeah.
But we also do some nerd things, like talk about Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and the greatness that was over the weekend. So whatever your heart's desire, you'll probably find it with the Saturday Morning Hangover. Also, of course, I'm producing R&R in the Morning with Rob Thompson and Rudy Johnson every morning from 7 to 10. We've got Mike Jimenez on halftime from noon to 2. And, of course, The Blitz with Jason Minix and Joe Reinickle from 4 to 7.
More reason and then some to check out the San Antonio Sports Star. Hey, we thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Once again, make your second listen Locked On Sports Today podcast. The biggest stories of the day, instant reactions, big game recaps, the take of the day on the Odyssey app, YouTube, wherever you get podcasts, just like Locked On Spurs. Odyssey app, the Locked On Spurs YouTube page, Ken's 5+ app, and wherever you get podcasts. So for James Pledger, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.